Hello, this is Lisa LeRose here on Connect to Love on PRNFM, and I'm joined by the amazing, incredible Michael J. Russ. I want to welcome you without further ado because we've got a super big topic that I'm excited about today. So welcome, Michael.
Thank you so much.
Delight.
Always a pleasure to be here with you.
Yeah,
I look forward to this every week.
You inspire me all the time, and one of the things that Michael said, we had talked about experiences and really giving that gift of experience, and along with that opened up the gateway to imagination. And it's one of my favorite things. I think, if I could live in an imaginary world, sometimes I think I do. That's where I like to imagine the possibilities, the infinite possibilities. And, I think it was Albert Einstein who said, that imagination is more important than knowledge. And he said, for while knowledge defines all we currently know and understand, imagination points to all we might yet discover and create. And I just adore that. And so, Michael, without further ado, what are you waiting to discover and create? I'm eager for this conversation.
It's interesting. I was listening to a Brian Scott YouTube video about the imagination, and it's one of many different sources of the power that discuss the power of your imagination. And I've been using my imagination to imagine my future, my day, my week, my month, for 38 plus years. And if you're in a situation, if you're an entrepreneur, you're a gigger, you're somebody who is an independent contractor, you got your own business, it is really, really important to envision through your imagination what is possible for you, the grandest vision possible for you. And I find that this is a step for people who don't know about it that just falls by the wayside. A friend of mine in Switzerland who was in the 2012 Olympics, he came in 25th overall. He said, I was 24 years old, and nobody had ever told me that I had to see it to be it. I said, what are you talking about? He goes, I never envisioned myself winning. I never saw myself winning. And he said, I didn't learn about that little tidbit, that really important part of winning, of competing, until I was 32. He says, now I'm 32, and I have a mentor who taught me that I had to envision my future, envision my success. I had to envision what I wanted for myself. I had to sit down and just imagine it in living color with sights and sounds and smells, everything. The more real you can make something in your imagination, the more that you bring it to life. And that's really what your imagination does. It brings your intentions, goals, and dreams to life. It brings them to life. It manifests them in the physical. And it all starts in your head. The 5 inches, I was going to say, the 5 inches between your ears, that's where life happens. It's not out your outer world. It's in the 5 inches between your ears. That is where life unfolds. That is where you create on your palette, your blank palette of life. I do it every day. I sort of set a financial goal for myself every day in my business, and a weekly goal and a monthly goal. And I don't necessarily get upset when the daily goal doesn't happen, doesn't manifest. That's really important, not to throw cold water on your what you're imagining. You have to remain positive as part of this process, and faith and belief in yourself and in your capabilities is incredibly important. Matter of fact, it's more important than anything else. You have to, and who you discuss what you're imagining with is very important. And I was told by somebody wiser than me that you shouldn't discuss what you're imagining with anyone, not even your closest friends, confidants, no one. It is your dream. and because our subjective mind is incredibly susceptible to being told that our dream is impossible. And the way I describe it in my talks is that when you tell somebody what you're interested in doing, it's not their dream. So to them, they're going to take it into the rational mind, and they're going to, based on the only thing they know, which is their own experiential wisdom. And what they're going to do is they're going to give you a response based on what they know, and they may not know your methodology for achieving your intentions, goals, and dreams. They may not be aware of it. They may not believe that it's possible, and that's what you're going to get back. You don't want cold water thrown on your fire, the fire of your passion. So you have to be very careful about what you discuss what you're imagining with. It's yours. Just imagine it. Imagine the grandest vision of it. Why make it $1,000? Why not make it $1 million? Nobody's telling you cannot make it happen. It's what you manifest. And somebody told me long ago, you generally get better than what you envision for yourself. The key is to envision something for yourself that's beyond where you are, whether it's capabilities or otherwise. Runners, people who are some of the fastest men and women in the world, they go through imaginary exercises. They see themselves running and winning. They see themselves excelling at certain parts of the track or whatever the marathon, whatever, at certain points. They see themselves being there. And actually, I know in track and field, you'll see these athletes at the starting line, and they have their eyes closed. What are they doing? They're envisioning every aspect of the race for themselves. Mm-hmm. And it's a tool that they use to help summon up from deep within them their best, their very best, better than they think they believe themselves capable of. And it's a tool. It's a high intensity athletes and others in this world do it. We all need to be doing it. It's a darn amazing concept. It's a darn amazing thing.
I couldn't agree more. And I think what a lot of people, they think, imagination is just for kids. You have your imaginary friends. But really, if you think about it, the power of imagination has been shown throughout history. There is inventions. I mean, I look around my office, and there's not one thing that didn't come from somebody's imagination, from the paper clips on my desk. Like somebody had a need, they imagined it, and and somebody probably said, well, that's a really dumb idea. Who's going to buy that silly little bent up what piece of wire? Or, whatever it is, whether it be a book. Exactly. I mean, really, if you think of some of the things, you think about the Wright brothers. I mean, I can only imagine the conversations that ensued after they said that, you see those birds like that in the sky? Guess what? I'm going to be up there. I'm going to fly. And,
correct.
And where would we be today? I mean, you've been able to travel the world because of something that they imagined. Yeah, and that's what I think is so powerful, and I think that's sort of what Einstein was saying, that it's the imagination that brings forth the knowledge. It's a product of that imagination so that we can bring things into existence, things that we, some things are, you think, oh, my gosh, especially around the holidays, you see these infomercials about stuff, and you thought, how is it that somebody thought somebody needed that? But they're obviously creating prosperity around it. And who's to say that it isn't useful to somebody else just because it's not useful to you? And that's what I really love. I've always loved children's books, and I collect them. I find them not only the imagination of the writer of the story, but also the illustrations and where somebody went when they took different words and made them a reality to capture the imagination of children. I mean, I think that it's a really wonderful gift. And as we've talked about before, music, where does it come from? Whether you're channeling it in. I'm curious, Michael. So when you imagine something or envision something that you want to bring into your reality, is there a process that you would like to share?
That's actually pretty simple. I meditate. It's a part of my meditation where I focus on something that I would like to manifest in my world. And if it's on a daily basis, and really, I think in order for anything to be valuable to you, especially something like your imagination, I suggest people make it practical. Something that they do on a daily basis for something practical in their everyday life. It could be, and it's got to be something you're manifesting for you. You can also, by the way, put forth your imagination. You can envision somebody else succeeding at something as well. Having something, getting something. You can throw that out there. It is possible to do that. Robert Stone is an author who wrote a couple of books, and Robert B. Stone, unbelievable what he teaches you to do. He teaches practical ways of manifesting things in your life. And he was somebody who was instrumental in the development of the Silva method. The Silva method of manifestation. He actually, it was he who was instrumental in actually instigating the person who developed the Silva method, and he has written several amazing books. I have them on ebook. Brian Scott's done a couple of really cool chapter readings from him, and it'll blow your mind. For me, it's simple. I sit down in the morning and I get into my basic meditation, but then I just imagine something that I would like to have in my life. Going on a cruise, taking a trip back to see my mother, or envisioning what I'd like to make that month in terms of income. I see the number. I see myself at work. I see my phone ringing. I see the opportunities coming to me that I would need to actually create that income on a monthly basis. And I've been doing this for 38 years. I do it always. And it's amazing the miracles that occur that you manifest as a result of putting out there into the universe what you would like and backing it up with energy and feeling and actually seeing it happen for you and experiencing it happening for you. And a big part of this too is when it does happen for you, to not say, I can't believe it. No, wait a minute, hold on a second. You do believe it. You must believe it. You say thank you very much to your source within, or your source that you connect with. To be thankful, to be grateful that it has happened. It's very, very important part of that is to spend some time in gratitude when the thing that you envisioned came to life, manifested in some way. But that's all I do. I just sit down and it's like I said, it's you put yourself in that position. In other words, let's put it this way: if you wanted to take a beach vacation, and you would sit down and you would imagine yourself walking on that beach. Maybe you have a picture that in a magazine, and you bring that picture into the forefront of your mind, and you in the first person. It's not like seeing you watching yourself walk down the beach, 10 feet away. You are actually there looking at what's going on in your eyes. And if a good example of this is if you were to look down, you'd see your own feet. Okay, which we do on the beach sometimes. We look down and we see ourselves walking on the beach. We see our look back and we see our foot impressions in the sand as the water has washed up on the shore and now washes up again and washes them away. You smell the flowers that you would encounter. Let's just call it Hawaii. Hawaii is a very fragrant place, and you sort of imagine what the flowers smell like. What time of day is it? Is the sun starting to set? And you look across the water and you see the sun falling in the sky, and you see other people on the beach. Perhaps you really get into what kind of sounds are there? Are there birds chirping? Are you hearing the crashing of the waves, the lapping of the waves? You just put yourself there and envision yourself and just let it unfold for you. Don't judge it in any way, because it's important. This is something you're looking to manifest. Judgment. There's no room for judgment in manifestation. That just pretty much puts the kibosh, so to speak, and it's throwing cold water on your own fire. You have to just let it freely operate, and then release your attachment to it. Release your attachment to the outcome, which is very, very important. It's because otherwise, what you'll do is you'll begin to put negative energy towards whether it happens or not. I don't know if this. Maybe you'll get doubts in your mind about whether it will occur, when it will occur, whether it will occur at all, and you really don't want to do that. You just want to let it be. It's your dream, it's your imagination at work, and you have to support it. You have to feed it with positive energy and thankfulness and gratitude. And actually, while you're in that state of mind, walking on the beach, say very much, thank you. I'm so grateful for being here. Thank you. I'm delighted that I could be here and experience this beautiful sunset, these lapping waves, the soft sand on my feet, all of that. Bring it to life, whatever it is. It's important to bring it to life, and that's what I do. Simple.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I really embody that, and it's interesting. I think, when I was a kid, I did like to daydream. I envisioned different places that I would go or see, but I was really shy. So when I was in college, I took an acting class, and that enabled me to, that just being in that theater, it was like, okay, I could go into this place and I could be into these different, roles and characters. And I think things like that are helpful for individuals that may have a difficulty imagining. I think there's a lot of really good guided meditations as well. I always was a big fan of Wayne Dyer, who, he wrote a book called Wishes Fulfilled, Mastering the Art of Manifesting. And he, one of the things that I really love that he said in there was that you are responsible for your own imagination. What you place there is held there and is yours. And he said no matter what, like even as a kid, he said his beliefs, everything he placed into his imagination couldn't be taken away from him. He was orphaned at a young age. He was later reunited with his mother, but I think at the age of 10. But he said, even though they were really quite poor, and poor is a relative term, it's defined by different things. Yeah. He said, he got a paper route and he just chipped in and he did what needed to be done. But he never saw himself that way. In his mind's eye, he was always wealthy. And he said, throughout his life, the things that he imagined, the books that he wrote, the different things that came to him, even the gifts that he passed along to his children were all things that he imagined. He said, and whenever anybody would try to say no, take it away from him, he said he would get even more stubborn, that was going to be a reality. And I think that's what you're speaking of too. You put the energy in there and, you just really sort of dig your heels in. No matter what it is, it doesn't matter what anybody thinks. It's your vision. It's what your unique dreams and desires. And you really need to honor that. And I think that, imagination sort of does find its way. And I love that you express not to limit yourself. I think that so many times, I think Brian Scott said a lot of people are like, well, my imagination, I'm a billionaire. But he said, you don't know what it's like. You don't know the hard work that it takes. You don't know the paperwork that you have to entail every day. So do some of the small things and really start to, bring that imagination to life. He said, and I think about the other day I was listening to an interview with Danica Patrick, and I thought it's really amazing because she was sort of a pioneer in racing as a woman getting into it. And, for a little girl, I mean, imagining yourself being on that track in mostly a male-oriented sport and then also succeeding in it, I think is pretty amazing. And now she's venturing on to other things. I'm not really much of a race fan, I have to admit. So I don't know if she's still currently racing or not, but I still think
No, she's retired.
Oh, she's retired.
Yeah, she's retired. But, hey, you left something out. What is it that you do? What do you do? I told you what I did. Tell our audience what you do when it comes to your process of imagining.
You know what? I actually, I don't think that there's any part of my day that I don't imagine. And it's funny because I was always, as a visual artist, able to see things already done. So the other day I was just in a property and I was speaking with the gentleman. He said the same thing. He said I always had a really good imagination, and he said in bringing things to life. So for me, I guess it became sort of like my soul food, Michael. I just I don't think that there's any part of my day that there isn't some imagining of the possibilities and the infinite possibilities that are available to me. I don't always know how things are going to happen, and I kind of go along with a theme. So my big thing right now is to simplify my life. Now, I imagine what it would mean to me to simplify my life, and I'm thinking a lot about imagining where in the world I want to be. Not that I don't love where I live, but I really, you think about in the next 10 years, where do I want to be? Where do I want to put up roots and meet new friends, and what new experiences do I want? I know that I've got that itch, I've got, and so in order to do that, I know that I need to simplify. So I imagine, okay, this will be find a new home for this, and imagine where this is going to go. And I know it may sound a little trite, but it's important for me. And,
no, the building blocks of your.
Yeah, but and then sometimes, right. Oftentimes it's in that space right before I go to sleep that I'm in that quiet space, or we'll wake up with the dogs in the middle of the night, and then I let my mind kind of wander, and the next thing I know I'm in a dream state. And oftentimes too, when I listen to music, not vocal music, but just instrumental, that right. I think more than anything else, I have these wonderful CDs by Dr. Jeffrey Thompson. There's sleep CDs, brain CDs, alpha, theta, delta wave, and I'll play them, and it just helps to bring information from the ether into my brain, I guess is what I would say.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Yeah. By the way, it'd be a good time right now to mention somebody that we've both listened to lately. I've spent a lot of time listening to your friend Frankie Love, who has a new album out, and I mean, I want to give. If she listens to the show at all, I want to give her a shout out because her music, her new CD is awesome. I listened to it this morning driving to Tallahassee. I listened to it yesterday while I was meditating outside in the beautiful warmth of the morning with the sun, shining on my face. I plan on listening to it a lot more. When I'm walking, it's a great listen when you walk, because it kind of puts you in a state of mind, a state of being that is ripe for the other thing I want to bring up, which is daydreaming. What you do is daydream throughout the day. You see, there's a word we can imagine for ourselves. We can use our imagination, but daydreaming is the same as just what we're talking about. It's just another way to refer to it. And you can be anywhere and you can daydream. You can envision yourself being somewhere else for a moment. You can envision something happening. It's an amazing tool in life to manifest what you'd like to have in your life. You can imagine daydream about going somewhere for dinner and meeting someone interesting. You can imagine that you're daydreaming about going to the store, and you're on your way there, and that you find the perfect outfit for yourself. It's amazing. As I said earlier in our conversation at the beginning of the show, it's important to actually take these tools of using your imagination, daydreaming, and make them practical for you every single day, like you do. And it's wonderful that you actually talked about how you actually integrate daydreaming, using your imagination, into your daily practice. It's awesome. And that's really what I encourage our listeners to do. Yeah, that's what I encourage to do, because, otherwise it's not just big things. It's not like, I want $1 million. It's little things in your life that you can help bring to life, that you can manifest. And by the way, I'm going to step back to Einstein for a second, because I thought about this while you were a little bit earlier when you were talking about it. But Einstein, what's interesting about him is that people see him as might envision him as a scientist who was always in a laboratory doing something with physics. He spent a lot of time thinking and meditating. Matter of fact, he spent a lot of time meditating, and it's not something he talked about, but that's what he did. He spent a lot of time by himself meditating for hours. And and he meditated on issues, on problems he wanted to solve, challenges that he wanted to solve, and a lot of his greatest achievements actually emanated from his imagination, tapping into his higher self. He was able to do that, and that is, again, part of Einstein that you never hear about. However, it's interesting. And children, in my view, it's important to help kids understand the power of their imagination instead of cutting it off, instead of saying, that's not real or whatever. Just let them roll with it. Let them roll with it. You want to, instead of nipping it at the bud and telling them it's bad, putting that thought virus in their mind that your imagination, what you imagine, is not real and it's not a good thing and it'll never happen, encourage it. Use your imagination. As a parent, make sure that you're letting them know that the imagination is a tool whereby you can help create things in your life. I don't think kids really need to know the nuts and bolts. It's just encourage it to continue, or encourage them to continue using their imagination in the wildest possible way, and get involved with it. Support them 110%. If they want to share what they're imagining, great. If they don't, encourage them to do that as well. You don't have to know. If they want to share it, that's cool. We, as children, are curious. We imagine things. We're playful. And as we work through the school system, when we're put in these little cubbyhole boxes of classrooms and we're taught to conform, a lot of that is lost. And now, when you're in your 40s or 50s or 60s or 70s, you have to. It's a challenge to go back and reconstitute what you were doing when you were 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old. The imagination is something that definitely needs to be encouraged. So if we have listeners who have kids and they're imagining things, make sure that you're not supplanting thought viruses about things being bad, things that can actually metaphysically help them move forward in life and manifest a reality for themselves that is beyond anything that they could have initially imagined. It's an amazing concept, an amazing tool. And why should we have to rediscover it? Let's keep rolling with it.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of people don't realize that a lot of the information that Einstein brought through was in his dreams. He would go to sleep, he'd go into that state, and then he would bring back things. And I just find that so amazing and so fascinating. It's sort of like that's the only way you can really quiet the mind. I mean, I don't know. I can't even imagine the things that went through his head in a daily basis. And so to be able to quiet that mind, as you said, is so crucial to being able to, bring forth that imagination into knowledge. And there was a book, I don't know if you ever read it. I had it. I think it came out in 1992. It was by gentleman named Alan Lightman. It's called Einstein's Dreams. Have you ever seen that book by any chance?
No, I haven't.
And it's if you want to really speak about somebody that is imaginative, in this book, basically, he takes it's the same day, and the chapters are very short, but he views it through all of Einstein's different views of reality. And it's so, and it really, I thought, at the beginning, I thought, this is the same day, but I was so curious, and there were certain things that really meant my mind about what I was doing, and I keep that book near me because it reminds me to, really to sort of think outside the box. And one of the things, it was actually right in the beginning, it says, suppose time is a circle bending back on itself. The world repeats itself precisely, endlessly. For the most part, people do not know they will live their lives over. Traders don't know that they will make the same bargain over and over again. Politicians don't know they'll shout from the same lectern infinite number of times as cycles. Parents treasure the first laugh from their child as if they'll never hear it again. And it goes on and on and on like that, but it paints a picture. And then after you come to the end of, this very little chapter, it's like he takes you to a place of where you go to sleep. And then in the next chapter, you wake up and you see the same thing through a different lens. And I think that's what really the imagination is all about. Go ahead. What were you going to ask?
I was going to ask you to give our audience the name of the book again.
Oh, it's Einstein's Dream by Alan Lightman. And, and this was another word that I just said. He said, in a world in which time is a circle, every handshake, every kiss, every birth, every word will be repeated precisely. So to every moment that two friends stop becoming friends, every time a family is broken because of money, every vicious remark in an argument between spouses, every opportunity denied because of jealousy, every promise not kept. He said all these things will be repeated in the future. So he says basically it's a challenge to not live an unhappy life, but to do something different. And I really like that. I think it's a big metaphor for where we are and what the world that we want to imagine. That actually it would be the opposite.
Is that to say, is he actually saying we're going to relive that again so we can make different choices about how we respond to it?
Different choices, right?
Okay, all right.
So
cool.
that instead,
I like that.
If it's a circle, instead of the argument that we may have had, instead we choose a different outcome. And I think that's too what Brian Scott said. It's a really powerful, I guess, lecture that he gave on the imagination and creating what you want, because when you look at what is going on in the world with hardships that different people are experiencing, we are at a precipice where we can really change what goes on. And I think one of the things that I liked what Brian said, and I did write this down, he said it's a bridge of incidents. So if you think about that, and he said, so we get to choose the tones of our reality. And then, he talked a lot about, what we want to do to enter into that reality. So if we do, where you put your attention, where you put your energy, and then your understanding, and then you kind of, enter into that state. And I really love that. And I thought about that. How many times are we not willing to build that bridge? So we just need that imagination to build that bridge, to reach out, to possibly change somebody else's reality. And
it's so beautiful.
I think,
beautiful.
Yeah, and Brian does that for me all the time, and you do that, Michael, because you find these, these golden nuggets, and I really love that. And thank you for enjoying Frankie as much as I do. I know that one of the things, the reason that she said she creates music is, she's very empathic, she's very sensitive, and she said that when she actually, she loves people and humanity, and when she, she just wanted to always, believe and to be able to change and make this world a better place. And she always said that, making music, found her, that it chose her. And I think that when she composes, on one of her latest Instagram posts, she has herself literally just sitting at the piano playing, and just if she likes it, she'll go back and she'll record it. And sometimes she releases stuff. Some things are just for her, and I think it's a really good metaphor. Do you find yourself doing that when you start to play the drums? That it's more of a freedom of expression. You're allowing your imagination to sort of compose, or what you're needing at the time?
Interestingly enough, it's not that I'm a composer, because I'm a backbeat more than anything else. I actually play to tunes that I like. I listen to and I Shazam tunes that I would like to play along with. However, when I'm playing along with them, I'm intuiting what I want to do through feeling the music. I've been called an intuitive musician because when I sit down to play with somebody live, I am literally intuiting from beginning to end what I should do. Now, if we're playing a song, a top 40 tune or something that was a top 100 hit at some particular point, there is a beat that goes along with that tune that is quite familiar to most people. However, what I choose to do with it beyond that is me, how I choose to heighten it, lower it, soften it, harden it. That is simply me intuiting the notes, and that's really what I do. I've been told that, interestingly enough, that by many times that I can intuit when a song is going to end. In other words, it's the most challenging thing when you're playing with somebody that you've never played with before, and you're playing a song you've never played before. And the thing I love most about playing is most of the music. I would sit down with guys back in California when I played, and these would be old blues musicians, and they would come up with some song that you would see that, I don't know if you ever saw the movie. Did you see the movie Elvis, the current one?
Not yet. It's on my to-do list.
Oh, let me tell you. You'll be blown away by it. I'm not going to ruin it for you by talking about Elvis, but there's a part in the beginning of the movie where there's an old blues musician in a cabin, and he's playing a song. I think it's Hound Dog. It's Hound Dog or one other one. And he's playing it in a blues style. And I would play with this gentleman who was, at the time I played with him, I think he was 75, 80 years old. He'd call me down, I need a drummer, and I'd come on down. I had no idea. I didn't know the name of anything he ever told me that he was playing. I've never heard the song before. However, he would tell me what the time was, whether there was any stop time in it, what the groove was. Was it a blues tune? Was it a jazz tune? Was it a straight ahead jazz tune? Was it a soft? Was it fast? Was it slow? He'd kind of say, he'd give me a hint before he hit the first note. And after he hit the first note, with the knowledge that he gave me, that little tidbit of what kind of groove it was, I would just roll along with it. Slow blues, fast blues, a shuffle. These are standard concepts in terms of the kind of drum style that you would play. He would say shuffle, 4/4 shuffle in medium time, or fast time, or in slow time, or or in stop time even, because stop time is when a song would get to a certain point, and then in the verse, and it would stop, and they'd say something, and then you'd start again. That's stop time. So it's really kind of cool how I would sit down, and I've done this all over the world with musicians. I would tell them, I don't know that tune, but don't let that bother you. Just tell me the groove that it's in, and the beat, and I'll pick it up in seconds, and then I know when it's going to stop. So I have fun challenging myself like that, and it's not in the studio. It's in front of people that you could really embarrass yourself in front of if you really don't know what you're doing. However, it always works out for me. I always have that belief, that faith that I don't know. I tap into a higher power, my higher self, to get into this particular state of mind, of focus, that allows me to hear everything going on at once that every musician is doing. And I also have an eye on the person that's leading the band. And I can do that. I told you about Poco a few weeks ago that I played with. And
that's amazing.
I couldn't remember one song they'd ever done. One song they'd ever done. And I told the bass player, I said, look, just give me the groove, man. I'll pick it up, I'll listen to it, and I'll roll along with it. And like I said, when it got done, the leader of the band said, dude, you can come play with us in Key West anytime you want. You're amazing. And I said, thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. And I just loved your music. I didn't know it. I didn't know what it was, but I loved it. And I just make things up, and just music gets into me, and I just flow with it. So there is a process mentally if you do it. A lot of drummers can't do that. A lot of drummers have to have specifics, and they have to know dot the I's and cross the T's. I'm very intuitive about what I do when I sit down at a drum set, and that's what I do here at home as well. I just kind of practice that concept. I don't need to know what the name of the song is. I just kind of move along with it, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun, in fact. I wanted to step back to something just a moment when you were talking about Einstein's dreams, and Alan saying you can choose a different outcome to circumstances that occur over and over again. And believe it or not, in relationships, I know, and I learned to do this in my relationships, especially the one I'm in now. I celebrated 21 years yesterday. Today Wednesday? Yeah, yesterday.
Wow.
With a wonderful woman. Yeah, we're common law, we're hanging out. And I learned to handle situations, to make different choices when there was a disagreement or an argument about something. I learned to choose a different way of moving through it. And I observe what happens when I do that. I observe what happened. If I decided to, because a lot of times what we do in relationships is we throw gasoline on the fire, and it just gets worse. It gets out of control. And not understanding really the true foundation of what is driving the disagreement, because we think we know. We think we know why they're doing what they're doing. And in many cases, that's a big mistake to make that presumption, because you really don't. There could be trigger somewhere. It could be something going on. And de-escalation is what I started doing. I started recognizing when I was about to throw gasoline on the fire, and then I just wouldn't. And an interesting thing happened. It would dissipate and fizzle out within seconds. And a whole demeanor change occurred. And as in relationships, couples, they push each other's buttons. That's what couples, they start to do over time, is they start to push each other's buttons, and on purpose, because they have some sort of angst or some sort of built up anger, and they want to, get their goat or whatever they want to do. And really, the key to a long-term relationship that has legs is to make different choices along the way. When something happens that's happened once or twice before, or 3 times before, at some particular point, have the presence of mind to make a different choice, to choose not to escalate, to choose to accept, perhaps, if you think you're right, but you're not quite exactly sure, acquiesce to their being right, and then go look it up. And if you look it up and you find out you're right, just let it go. It's not important. In the end, it's just a fact. It's not, and if the fact is a little bit twisted or off, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. The most important thing is connection. Not whether you're right, not whether you're in control, not whether the person's doing exactly what it is that you say they're doing. And that's what I thought of when you talked about Alan Lightman and Einstein's dreams. Very interesting. I don't know how my mind goes there.
No, you know what? It's the connection that you have to that, and I think so many times, Michael, Yeah, you're almost like a fire starter for me, because I think, things come up in my brain that I haven't necessarily thought of for a while, and then, I sort of rediscover things. And there's, I think that in life, if you can find somebody, it really is a gift to have a relationship like you have, where, you recognize, okay, I've done this drama before. I know how the story ends, and it doesn't serve me. So let's do a different dance. Like, let's put a different record on. Let's, let's turn the channel. And I think too many people, it's more important to be right than to be I would rather be in a peaceful space. It's never been that important for me to have to be right about something.
I mean, the need or the want to be right is, for me, is pretty heavy, because I'm a dot I cross T kind of guy, and however I've had to learn over time that it's not always that important. If it was $236.80 and someone says it was $237, it's not important to correct them and say it was 10 cents less or 8 cents less.
Mm-hmm.
It's not important, but we have this competitive thing going on between when you with your partner in life, and you want to make sure that you're showing up, and a lot of things that go on in a relationship aren't really relevant. They aren't relevant to the grand scheme of the macro picture. They're not relevant. They're just things, and they'll be forgotten in 5 minutes, if not less.
Right.
They'll be forgotten.
Right.
I've got this rule. If it's not going to be relevant in 24 hours, just let it go. Let it go. Mm-hmm. If it's not going to be relevant tomorrow, and you're thinking about, we argued over this or argued over that, is it going to be important tomorrow? No. It's likely not. I would venture to say 90% of what happened today is going to be irrelevant tomorrow, if not 99%. Irrelevant tomorrow. Tomorrow's another day. So why would we invest our emotional capital, our time, our energy, our state of being, our frequency? Why would we bring our frequency to bear and put a higher frequency at risk, a higher vibrational frequency at risk for something that won't matter tomorrow?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's how you stay happy today.
Yep. I 100% agree with you. There's an exercise. I don't know if you're familiar with Pam Grout. I love Pam and her books. I sort of devoured them. But one of the things she wrote in there is to put together like a 6-word memoir, or less words. And I think when you're in a state of whatever it is, and it's a good way to not take yourself too seriously. Like she said, that singer Amy Mann said her 6-word memoir was couldn't cope, so I wrote a song. I love that. I'm like, simplify, right? You go back to that, simplify, or Stephen Colbert. Well, I thought it was funny. That's his, 6-word memoir.
Interesting.
But I think when you do that, we become so verbose, but when you just sit there, whether the other day it was a nice sunny day, we're getting into the cooler days up here on the East Coast,
we are.
And I wanted to put the hammock out and just take one of my little pups and just rock them in the hammock. I mean, that is, to me, very soul nurturing. It's something that, and then I let my mind wander into that imagination. And we were talking about before how that imagination becomes knowledge, and oftentimes can become products or invention. And there was one that I absolutely love was when Dom Perignon, who invented champagne, said, "Come quickly, I'm drinking the stars." And I thought to myself, how magical.
That's awesome.
How magical.
Man, that's an amazing statement. How about present tense, let's go drink some stars.
Yeah, I know. Actually, in celebration of your 21 years, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just perfect. But
I love it.
It's where you who would ever think that we would, as human beings, have a need for champagne, but somebody had an idea, and it came from their imagination.
Oh yeah.
And
Dom
think
Perignon's
about
pretty good too.
yeah. about how many
created
lives.
a great product.
Yeah. I mean, how much laughter it's inspired, how much silliness. I'm sure there's a few fights in there and some other things along the lines, but
how does it enhance somebody's life?
Mhm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I mean, that was always my favorite drink when I was in college. I wasn't so much of a beer girl. I loved my champagne.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, unfortunately in college I couldn't afford Dom Perignon, but I did
Who can? Yeah. We didn't go to an Ivy League school. It was one of those. It's just a special occasion thing. If you're celebrating something really, really special, I think my first bottle was for my 40th birthday. That's the first time I bought a bottle for 40th birthday. I had a surprise party that my wife at the time gave me, and it was very, very, very memorable. A bunch of guys took me out to play golf, and a bunch of people got together at our house, and she set it up quite beautifully. There are these milestones that you have in your life, and I think I mentioned this last week, but you want, and when we're talking about experiences, which is what we're doing, and we there are these things that you create in your life that you remember forever, and other people create for you sometimes that you remember forever. However, it's that's what life is about, and that is really how you grow and evolve. I have to tell this little story really quickly because I met this gentleman. I was standing. I probably told you before that I can be standing anywhere. I can be standing waiting for a train that's going to arrive in 5 minutes, and meet the person next to me and find out about them and what they're doing and who they are and where they're from. And then I get on the train. I mean, I want to talk to people. So I'm standing outside of my girlfriend's restaurant. And she is she's just gone to get the deposits, something out of the safe what we do every day. And I decided to get out of the car and just, enjoy the beautiful sunshine. And this guy walks by with a dog. And, I like dogs. And he was a cute little thing. And I reached down and said, "Hey, who are you?" And then I said, "Hey," he had a sort of a European soccer shirt on, which is not unusual because a lot of people do watch European soccer over here, a lot of Americans. But I said, "Hey, that's a cool shirt. Who are you? And, who is this lovely dog you got here?" And he says, "I'm Tom." And I said, "Tom." And I said, "Well, you're from, yeah." He says, "I'm from Ireland." Tom Campbell from Ireland, Belfast, in fact. And he's standing there, and we talk about the dog. It's his friend's dog. He's walking him down the front, we call Front Beach Road, which is the road that's right along the beach, runs right along the beach. And I said, we got to talking about this. I said, "So, cool, what are you doing here? Are you on an H2?" He says, "I'm working." I said, "You on an H2 visa?" He says, "Yeah, absolutely." He says, "Where are you working?" He says, "Cuvée." And I said, "My gosh, we're going there tomorrow and Tuesday night." We go there all the time. It's our favorite restaurant. In fact, the manager just moved into our neighborhood. And he goes, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, Hattie." I said, "Absolutely." So we start talking, and then my girlfriend walks out, and she's going like, "Oh, my God, you've done it again. You're standing here for a couple minutes." I just went inside for a couple of moments, and twice we've been to the restaurant. Twice I've said hi to him. He's a very polite young man, awesome. And we got to talking about, I told him, I said, "Yeah, my girlfriend wants to go to Ireland, in the next couple of years." And he says, "Absolutely." He says, "Make sure you let me know." And I said, "We will."
Oh, that's awesome.
But I connect, you connect with somebody. He's just a nice 24-year-old. And the reason I brought this up is because I told him yesterday, he's kind of a runner, and he's operating, he has a special little job there in the kitchen. This is a really high-end restaurant with a nice chef. And I talked to him on the way to the restroom because it's kind of an open kitchen. And I told him it was our 21st, and he says, "Wow." He said, "That's absolutely amazing." And I said, "Yeah, it is." I said, he says, "Well, my mantra right now is don't get involved." I said, "Well, it's okay to get involved as long as you're truthful and honest about, where you are in life.
Right.
You don't want to lead somebody on. You just want to, if you're looking to have companionship, to go out to dinner or to go experience something with somebody, a movie or otherwise, you just have to, at some particular point, just be honest about where you are in the relationship, stage at this particular point. However, I can tell you that I'll impart you this one thing, and that is, and he says, really? And I said, what's that? I said, relationships are where you want relationships with people and intimate relationships, because that's how you evolve as a human being. You learn, you expand who you are through that connection, and by dealing with what you deal with in that connection, how you respond to them and how they respond to you, and the whole 9 yards. And he goes, I've never thought of it that way. And I said, yeah. I said, just keep that in mind. Relationships are for growth. That's how you evolve. If you avoid them, you really don't grow and evolve. You stay in your own little world. And whether it's close friendships or intimate relationships, whatever, but just be honest about where you are. And he's a great guy, very, very warm. It's amazing. It's amazing the wonderful people that you can meet in a few seconds, and how you can get to actually know them. And because I'm intuitive. I know you are too. You can kind of sense somebody. You can meet someone and you can intuitively know what kind of person they are, what kind of being they are. And the moment that you meet them, you either shake their hand or you look them in the eyes and say hello, and you kind of know. That's me. And I meet, and I'm attracted to, evidently other people, wonderful people are attracted to me, and I'm attracted to them, because that's the way I think. It's that frequency that I like to put out. He was putting it out too, so it was wonderful.
Yes, no, and that's your point of attraction, and where you're putting your attention. I think whether you are conscious of it, I know, Michael, you walk out that door and you're going to make it an awesome day. And so, in that connection to a stranger is part of what makes your day awesome. And you don't, when you do it, you're open to whatever is going to unfold, which I think is really powerful in imagining anything. And really, I have to circle back to that. The greatest gift we've ever been giving is the power of our imagination. And for our listeners, and I'd love for you to close out the show with just a little bit about this. So, just for our listeners who say, "Well, I can't imagine things," so. We spoke just briefly about either a dream journal or a vision board or a dream board.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
If you could just maybe give them a few tips, and then perhaps, I know you and I were going to try to work on some things and maybe share a few things on our Instagram on Connect to Love Energy, and then perhaps. We can get some feedback. But, yeah, I'd love for you to share a little bit about how to just, light that spark, I guess.
Yeah, it's true. I read travel magazines, and because I love reading about places in the world, some places because I learn new things about where I've been, and I also learn about places that I'd like to visit. And a dream board or a vision board is when you go out and get a foam core board. You can go to the craft store at Michael's or some craft store, arts and craft store, and you can get a foam core board, which is a little bit more sturdy. That's about 2x3 or 3x3 or 4x4, whatever you want to make it, as big as you want to make it. And all you're doing basically is give an example. If I'm in a travel magazine and I want to go to a certain place, I want to go to Hawaii or I want to go to Tahiti. I see an article on Tahiti. I cut out the picture of the beach, not necessarily the words in the article, but various pictures that actually can help me focus on that area. And you basically attach them to your dream board, and you say, right underneath it, dream trip to Tahiti, and or wherever it might be. That's an example. If you want a certain car, you find you go to the dealer and get the book for the car. If you can test drive it, even better, because it gives you the smell of the new car, what it would smell like. You don't have to envision that or imagine that because you've been in the vehicle. You can bring it to mind again for yourself. You can look at it, walk around at 360, and you can create it in your mind. But having a picture, you cut out the picture and you put it on the board. And it's important to not limit yourself. I had a friend who, when I managed the shoe store, one of my employees wanted a Porsche in his life, and he would go to the dealer like once a month to drive a Porsche, test drive it. He got to befriend the guy, and he got to get out and he got to test drive his Porsche. I'm sure today he owns a Porsche because He made it so real for himself. He made it so real, and by sitting in the car, feeling it, sensing it, smelling it, touching it. That is the more real you can make whatever it is in a dream board. So here's the thing: you take that dream board and you create it for yourself with various aspects of your life, relationships, travel, things that you want in your life, material things, and then what you do is in the morning and in the evening, when you wake up, you make sure that you look at it and you put that impression in your mind and you give gratitude and thanks for having it in your life. And then before you go to bed at night, you do the same thing. You make sure that you look at it. So it's the last thing you see. The last thing you're doing before you go to bed is daydreaming about something on that dream board. You're imagining it in your life. That's the best way to go to sleep instead of thinking about something that happened. If you've got something that happened during the day you can't get out of your mind, take out a journal and write it down. Get it out of your head. Write down any thoughts you have about it. Get them out of your mind, because your ego will, in the middle of the night, start playing games with you, and it will bring it up, and all the wherefores and why nots and shoulda, woulda, couldas, and all these things about the negativity about it, and it'll just dance around in your mind. You won't get any sleep. Whenever you have something in the evening that is bugging you, write it down. Write down possible solutions, what you want to do perhaps. Anything that's dancing around in your head, just write it down. It doesn't have to be coherent or cohesive. Just write it down. Write down whatever it is and get it out of your mind. And you'll be able to get up in the morning and deal with it because you'll have had a good night's sleep. But make sure that you look at the dream board and that's what you envision for yourself. So you can even start to dream about it, start to imagine it when you're lying in bed and go to sleep. And who knows? You might even dream about it. Who knows?
It's beautiful. Thank you so much. And I think it's those paths, those things that we haven't yet even visualized. That's the ones that we should get excited about because there's so much yet to be unleashed by your imagination. And I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for sharing that and for this fantastic topic. I absolutely love it. It's like it's got me salivating. I can't wait to hear what you imagine next.
Got to add a few things to my dream board, my vision board. I got to do that,
That's
and
awesome.
Thank you. It's been an awesome day. For our listeners out there, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for taking the time. And for those that listen to our podcast, same thing. We do have that podcast, so check it out. You can listen to this again. Share it with somebody. Connect to love.
So it is. Connect to love, and so it is.
Thanks.